Jim Benning is taking W's today. And it starts with a contract for Quinn Hughes, and it'll end with a contract for Elias Pettersson. Let's start with the Quinn Hughes deal. 6 years at a hair over $7.75 million per. Now let's look at what Quinn Hughes has done to earn this contract. So last year was a rough year for Quinn Hughes. He had a just tough season defensively. He was paired up with Travis Hamonic, and they got better as the season progressed. But defensively, there was mistakes. He got caught a bunch. Offensively, he was still putting up points. I mean, he still put up 41 points at 56 games last year, which is absolutely excellent for a defenseman. The problem is at the same time, he was a minus 24. A lot of those points came on the power play as the quarterback. So he had a sophomore slump last year, and that for sure brought the price down, which is, going to end up being helpful for the Vancouver Canucks in the future here. But the year before that, his rookie season, he played 68 games, had 53 points before going to the bubble and putting on a good performance there as well. And that was when Quinn Hughes stepped on the scene and showed that he is going to be a number one defenseman in this NHL. And he is going to be one of the best defensemen in the league potentially. And it really comes down to a couple things. His hockey IQ, he's smart. He knows where to put the puck. He's an excellent passer. He skates like absolute butter. And he is going to be a real star in this league. So what the Canucks are doing is, instead of saying, hey, you had sort of a bad year this year, let's give you 3 years as a bridge, and then you'll get really good over those 3 years. And then we're going to have to pay you $10 million after that. The Canucks are betting that Quinn Hughes is going to get better. By signing him to a 6-year deal, they buy up all the remainder of his restricted free agent years and 2 UFA years, which drives the price up, right? Because right now, the Canucks are betting against, are basically pricing against themselves here, right? They're just in negotiations with the agent. No other team can present an offer to Quinn Hughes. So they're just one-on-one. Quinn Hughes, we'll give you this much. Let's make a deal. But after 4 years from now, if he were to be a free agent, any team in the NHL could go sign him. And then you're bidding against 31 other teams, which is why, as unrestricted free agency hits, those years, once you start buying those up, the price shoots up. So they could have done 3 years at maybe something like $6 million, but instead they say, well, let's bring that price up and let's bring the years up. Let's lock this in, because he's going to turn 22 in a couple of weeks. So they'd have him all the way through the age of 27. So basically through the first half of his prime, in theory, just making $7.75 million. Now, that sounds like a lot of money, but when you look at some of the contracts that have been dealt out to defensemen, especially this offseason, it's really not that bad, right? And you even look at contracts within the Canucks organization, right? You have Tyler Myers making $6 million a year. Quinn Hughes is definitely worth more than $2 million more than Tyler Myers is. So this just seems to be an excellent deal for the Canucks. Quinn Hughes secures the bag. I mean, it's like $45 million guaranteed for Quinn Hughes, which I'm sure he's going to be pretty happy with. And he is going to, he's going to be good. He's going to be a really good defenseman for the Canucks in the future. And I'm sure he'll come to camp, he'll come to preseason and start to play some really good hockey. Now, let's talk about Elias Pettersson. This deal is not done yet. I don't know if the Quinn Hughes one is done yet, but we've got basically a number for you. But what we heard about the Elias Pettersson deal is a 3-year deal at under $8 million is what we've heard from some sources today on Twitter. Not like I have sources. So 3 years at just under $8 million. Now, maybe that's 7.75. Maybe him and Hughes are both getting the same number, which is sort of what I wouldn't be surprised about. They do have the exact same agent. They're basically doing these negotiations all together. So I wouldn't be surprised if they went same number, different number of years, which means Elias Pettersson, 3 years, maybe around 7.75, $7.8 million per year. Now, what this does is it keeps Elias Pettersson as a restricted free agent. The one thing the Canucks couldn't do is sign one of them to a 4-year deal, because that walks them right to free agency. You don't get any unrestricted free agency deals. So this is where Elias Pettersson becomes more value or becomes more valuable than Quinn Hughes. He's going to make more money over the next 6 years than Quinn Hughes is, because if he makes the same amount of money for the next 3 years, well, in 3 years, he's still going to be a restricted free agent, and the Canucks will then have to give him a hefty raise. One thing we don't know is the dollar structure, like dollars per year of actual money getting paid out. That doesn't affect the cap. The cap is just the total value divided by the number of years. But the dollar value can help influence what the qualifying offer for the next contract would be for Elias Pettersson. But it sort of looks like we're in a boat where Quinn Hughes is going to get 6 years at $7.75 million. Elias Pettersson will get 3 years at around the same number per year. Now, Elias Pettersson has played 3 seasons in the NHL, one more than Quinn Hughes, because Quinn Hughes played the last 5 games of Elias Pettersson's first year, but Pettersson came onto the scene and he's been excellent, right? We're talking about a guy who's at like just under a point per game in his 3 young years in the NHL. Other guys who have done that, Mikko Rantanen, Mitch Marner. Like, this is the conversation that Elias Pettersson is in. If the Canucks wanted to sign him long-term, we would have been in the 9s for these dollar values. If they wanted to go 6 years with Elias Pettersson, you're probably talking $9.5 million, because you have to buy up those unrestricted free agency deals. So Elias Pettersson, 66 points in his first 71 game season. You remember the night that he joined the NHL against the Detroit Red Wings, against the Flames. The Detroit Red Wings is the other slap shot, but against the Flames, came down the wing, ripped a shot, and showed that he was here. 28 goals, 38 assists for 66 points in 71 games. Last year, 66 points in 68 games, 27 goals, 39 assists. And last year went out with an injury, but he still had a really solid 10 goals, 11 assists, 21 points in 26 games. And you look at Elias Pettersson analytically, and I'm going to see if I can pull up this JFresh. No, it's completely broken. But I'll read you sort of his analytical numbers. 96% wins above replacement percentage, 96th percentile. So one of the best centers in the game already. Keep in mind, he's turning 23 in about a month and a half. So Elias Pettersson, a young stud who is going to be with the Canucks for at least the next 3 years, but he will still be a restricted free agent. So he will not go to free agency after that. The Canucks will still have the opportunity to extend him. Although at that point, we're going to be talking about maybe adding an extra digit to that number, as he could be in the $10+ million range. So, folks, get excited. The Canucks are going to have all their players back. What this means for guys like Nick Petan, he's had a good look between Höglander and Besser, but he'll probably get brought down. But make sure you're subscribed to the channel for all upcoming Canucks news and my takes on them. We got post-game shows after every Canucks game this season. Hit the like button, do all that good stuff, and shout out to my VIPs, the backstage members, the GOAT member, Lucas. Thank you guys for supporting me, and if you are interested in becoming a member, you can hit the join button down below and check out what those perks are. All right, Elias Pettersson, Quinn Hughes, coming back to Vancouver. And it is a good day to be a Vancouver Canucks fan. We'll see you in the next one.